Welcome everyone to the Participant Insight interview for this, the latest cohort of the CARICAD Leadership Training Program. I'm your host, Vaughn Davis, and here with me today to answer a few questions about what you would have learned over these past 13 weeks is Shireen Sims-Landell. Thank you so much for being here with us, Shireen.
Thank you, Vaughn. Thank you for having me.
All right, so we're going to just jump straight into it. My first question is a general one. Now, having completed the CARICAD Mid-Level Leadership Development Program, what key insights did you gain, and how do you think they will enhance your leadership effectiveness?
Okay, Vaughn, for me, let me state that the program was a very transformative experience. I was able to understand the importance of self-leadership. So through the EQI, one of the key insights that I gained was actually through my EQI assessment. So I was able to understand myself better, understand my triggers, and know how to respond, how to adjust in terms of how I lead and not to become emotional or be triggered. So it was actually a very transformative experience for me with that.
All right, I'm glad to hear that. That's great. Now, let me ask you this. Can you give us an example of how you've applied or plan to apply what you've learned in your day-to-day leadership?
Okay, one of the key things that I can apply was the structured feedback. When I'm having one-on-one sessions with my team, I am able to now operate where I understand them better, or I try to understand them better, and this impacts on how I interact with them and the decisions that I make. So I am able now to become more understanding of their particular needs, or especially if I'm having a difficult conversation, and these do come up in your day-to-day life, where I'm having a difficult conversation with a staff, I am able to now apply the principles that I would have learned through emotional intelligence. So it has been quite helpful.
All right, it's very clear that you're able to take the staff's emotions and feelings into account a lot better. That's wonderful.
Yes.
Now, the program emphasizes leading teams and citizen-centered service. Now, what strategies stood out to you in those areas, and how will they influence your leadership style?
Okay. That's a very good one. One of the things, too, that when I am assigning any role to a particular team member, I can assess their readiness and their capability to undertake the task. Instead of me assigning something to them, I actually bear in mind their ability to perform so that they are not frustrated, nor would that lead to any frustration on my part. So I am able to apply that in how I assign tasks. Another thing that I was able to now apply is when I'm designing policies or programs, I am able to to consider the citizens' need and factor that into how the policy is written. So I'm actually considering the citizens' needs in the policies that are created.
All right, wonderful, wonderful. Now let me ask you this question. What role do you think ethics and values play in leadership, especially in the public sector? And did the program provide any tools or helpful hints to help you lead with integrity?
The program actually did. It re-emphasized the importance of ethical leadership, which is the foundation of leadership within the public sector and also within the private sector. So it was able to reinforce ethical leadership, and one of the tools this was able to be achieved was actually through the case study that we looked at. We were presented with different scenarios where persons or the leaders would have made decisions which some might not be so ethical, or it might be unethical. So we were able, through the case study, to analyze and say, hey, that's an unethical action that should not have been taken. That decision should not have been taken. So the program reinforces ethical leadership.
All right, fantastic. That sounds great. Now, let me swing things in a different direction. Challenges. We all know that leadership is not easy at all. It does come with its own share of challenges. But did the course provide you with any tools or tips that will help you to manage difficult situations in the workplace?
Yes, it does. It actually prepared me for such a situation like that, because you are able to know, apply emotional intelligence. You are able to understand your team members. You are now factoring also the needs of your citizen. So you are looking at all of your stakeholders. So the program actually helped in terms of preparing me for that.
All right. No, that all sounds wonderful. And I'm going to test your leadership acumen at this point. I'd like to bring things down by switching things up a little. I want to provide you with a scenario for you to react to and share how you would react as a new leader having gone through this training. Now, listen. You're the manager of a team of around 20 caseworkers at a government family services agency. Caseworkers meet anywhere from 1 to 15 clients a week in their offices during scheduled visits, and spend the rest of the time on administrative work connected to their clients. These appointments last a few hours and are booked between 8 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. Now you have one employee, Mary, who rarely shows up before she absolutely has to. The other caseworkers who have 8 a.m. appointments are there in good time to organize their case files and set up the interview rooms before the start of the day. Mary, however, is often rushing in the door at 7:58 to greet our client. And even then, she's sometimes a minute or two late. You feel it's unprofessional to show up 2 minutes before she's supposed to start working, especially when she's meeting clients who are waiting for her. Otherwise, though, she's a really good worker. And it doesn't appear that her meetings are affected by her rushed entrance, but it does bother you to watch this happen every week. Now, on the day she doesn't have early bookings, Mary is in at around 9 a.m. rather, and is in a much better mood. So perhaps she's just not a morning person, right? Now, how do you as the leader address the situation with Mary to get her to come in and prep and be more, well ready for her day before she absolutely has to?
That's a very good scenario that you would have presented, and the matter of the lateness is unprofessional, so that is something that will bother me, right? So in addressing that now, I would then need to look at Mary's timeliness in terms of looking deeper to see, understanding why is there a persistent lateness, or maybe Mary's just not a morning person. And when I identified that, I would have done the analysis and had a difficult conversation with Mary to ascertain her hours of lateness. And then when I have identified that, the next thing is to seek a solution, because we need to have a win-win situation for everyone. Is that I then need to look at probably the operation of a flexible work time, where Mary may be allowed to arrive at work at 9, where she would be more productive and it would be more professional because she's more prepared, she's more organized for the client. So I would look at that scenario.
All right. Seems like, it definitely seems like the leadership training is paying off. Wonderful. No, well, people, that is actually our show. Thank you for staying tuned and for going through this leadership journey with us, courtesy of Miss Landell here. Now, and a big up to everyone who participated in the course as well, especially the admin staff and the facilitators who all work together to make a wonderful experience for all its participants. And I can tell you that the next cohort of participants definitely have something to look forward to. With that said, I've been your host, Vaughn Davis. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you again next time.